Okay, so we're going to be simplifying, multiplying, and dividing expressions. And what happens when we do these expressions is that there are usually values that the function cannot equal. And you have to figure out what values it doesn't equal at the beginning of the problem before you do anything. Okay? You never, ever, ever can divide by 0. And because you can't ever divide by 0, when you're looking at problems like this above, if it's a product, any number where the bottom is equal to 0 is a restriction. So when you're looking at a product, your restriction or what values can't be included is where the bottom is equal to 0. And normally if you just have like x plus something or x minus something, again you just change the sign to figure out where those values would be. For example, on this first question here, if I'm trying to figure out what the restrictions are, I'm looking at the bottom of both of them, because you can't ever divide by 0. So where would the bottom be 0? It would be 0 at 1 and also negative 1. So you just look at the bottom and you think about what number I can plug in for x that would give me 0. So it's really just the opposites of those values. Kind of like when we were graphing in Desmos and we take the opposites. We're taking the opposites again. So in this case, x does not equal 1 and negative 1. And when we start matching here, that's going to give us f. Because that's what f is, negative 1 and 1. Now, when you're looking at a division problem, like these here, okay, or a quotient, then your restrictions is where the bottom is 0. But it's also the top of what you're dividing. And I'll show you that in an example in just a second as well. So when you're looking at a product, you're just looking at the bottom of the two things that you're trying to multiply. That's where the restrictions are. And when you're dividing, your restrictions are the things at the bottom, but also at the top of what you're dividing. Okay, so let's look at a division one. If I'm going to do E, on E I have to look at where the bottom is 0, but I also have to look at the top of the second one because I'm dividing all of that. So I'm looking at all three of those pieces and I'm figuring out what x can't be. So x can't be negative 2 or negative 1. It just so happens that they have both of the bottoms are 2, but that's okay. So negative 2 and 1, that is G. Alright, so let's go back up. So for the product, I'm just going to look for where the bottom is 0. I don't have to look at the top. They're the same thing, so what can x not be? 1. And that would be H. Okay, the next one. Still a product, so I'm still just looking at the bottom. It can't be positive 2, and it can't be negative 1. That is D. Okay, next. It can't be 1 or negative 2. So B. Alright, when you're looking at division, remember, it's not just the bottoms. You also have to look at the top of the second one. So you're looking at all three of those parts there. So we're going to have 2, -1, and then when there's just a plain old x, that's 0. Okay? I didn't write down what that was. That would be A. Alright, and then next one, looking at all 3 of those parts. So 2, 1, and 0. Yeah, that's supposed to be a -2. Thank you. And so that'll be C. And then the last one, I think I forgot to mark that off earlier. This one is 0, 1, and -1, which is E.